Hi, I'm Dave Mack. Here's what I have for you today. I'm going to answer this question. What is social media and why should you care? Social media is a group of internet-based applications that allow the creation and exchange of user-generated content. By user-generated content, I mean information that's created by you and me as opposed to information created by professional publishers, major broadcasting networks, film studios, and advertising agencies. In other words, you and I, the audience, are no longer merely passive readers and watchers of content. Now we become the publishers of content. The content that you and I generate for the internet can take various forms, such as written, audio, and video. So what? Why do you care? Well, if you're in business, your biggest concern is to attract new customers. You want to get traffic to your business. On the internet, there are essentially two ways to attract traffic. Number one is the good old search engine, which includes SEO, search engine optimization, and SEM, search engine monetization. The difference between these two search engine methods is that SEO involves optimizing your websites and marketing techniques so that you appear near the top of a search engine results page, often called a SERP, S-E-R-P, without paying Google or Bing to place you there. SEM, on the other hand, involves appearing at the top of a search engine results page because you did pay Google or Bing to place you there. It's simple, free versus paid. So that's the first way to attract traffic to your business, utilizing search engines. Number two is social media. Think of social media as an alternative to utilizing search engines. Why might you prefer to use social media, at least initially, instead of SEO and SEM? Well, there's a lot of competition for SEO. There's a lot of very clever people optimizing their websites to get favorable rankings in the search engines. So if you're a newbie, good luck. Perhaps you've seen television commercials advertising website creation services that will provide you with a professional website and automatic placement in the search engines. They tell you that for your monthly fee, they will submit your website automatically to Google and Bing, so you'll get traffic to your new website. Well, good luck with that. Don't you believe it. Sure, they'll submit your site to the search engines, but what they don't tell you is that whatever business for which you're trying to rank, you'll probably end up on page 500 of Google or Bing. Since most people stop looking after page 1 of the search results, they sure won't find you 499 pages later. If an online business were as easy to build as many would lead you to believe, everyone would be a millionaire. That's why I created Raiders of the Lost Market. You need lots of training to master SEO. I provide ongoing detailed SEO techniques in our Cracking the Whip video training. But it's a science that takes time to learn, which means that while you're learning how to implement SEO and SEM into your business, you should be developing an effective social media strategy that will become the backbone of your business marketing. As Harvey Mackay titled one of his books, "Dig your well before you're thirsty." In other words, build your audience and reputation before you're desperate for customers. One big reason you might not want to start with SEM, buying traffic on Bing and Google, is that it can be very expensive. In our Raiders Cracking the Whip training, I teach advanced strategies for buying traffic while minimizing risk. But it's always best to have your social media network in place so prospective customers can learn more about you before you can expect them to open their wallets to you. Here's why. Recently, a gentleman found me on the internet and contacted me wanting to work with me in my MLM business. That's great. That's what we all want, isn't it? Rather than pestering strangers and trying to talk them into starting a home business with you, wouldn't you rather have people approach you and ask to work with you? However, as Paul Harvey used to say on the radio, here's the rest of the story. As I talked with this gentleman over the phone and asked him why he chose me, he told me that he'd already investigated me on the internet and found that I appeared to be an honest fellow with many interests we shared in common. He also already knew the MLM company I represented, and he knew their reputation to be golden. In other words, he checked me out in social media before deciding to work with me. You see, building your social media presence wisely is important. People want to know with whom they're working. What are the benefits of social media for your business? Quite simply, it can build your audience virally if you're engaging, informative, and entertaining. It's the 21st century version of one person telling another person about you who tells another. Except with social media, it's more like one person tells 100 people who each tell 100 people, and so on. If you're really providing benefits to your audience, there's no telling how far the good news can spread, or how fast. So how does social media differ from traditional marketing? Traditional marketing is often referred to as interrupt marketing, or what I like to call 2x4 marketing, meaning they keep whacking you upside the head with a 2x4 trying to get you to buy. How often do you see the same commercial popping up repeatedly on TV every hour of every day, week after week? 2x4 marketing works from the top down, meaning that there's really no input from the consumer. In his book, Unleashing the Idea Virus, Seth Godin explains what's wrong with this approach. The goal of the consumer is to avoid hearing from the advertiser. The goal of the marketer is to spend money buying ads that interrupt people who don't want to be talked to. Unless you find a more cost-effective way to get your message out, your business is doomed. You can no longer survive by interrupting strangers with a message they don't want to hear about a product they've never heard of using methods that annoy them. Consumers have too little time and too much power to stand for this any longer. Unfortunately, when you use traditional 2x4 marketing, you end up spending a lot of money on 2x4s to whack consumers who keep ducking your blows. It looks like this. In this example, you can see our traditional marketer has spent $100, just to keep the numbers simple, on his marketing budget. His message reaches, let's say, 20 people. Of these 20, 3 of them buy his product and he turns $50 profit from each sale. So he spent $100 to get $150. If this ratio continues, he'll keep whacking consumers with his 2x4. Now, let's look at an example utilizing social media to sell the same product. For the purposes of this diagram, let's say that our social media marketer spends the same $100 on traditional marketing, and she spends only $5 to launch a social media campaign. These numbers, of course, are merely to illustrate the relative difference in the returns on investment of these two vastly different marketing campaigns. Obviously, your mileage may vary. These two campaigns run parallel to each other. Traditional marketing exposes consumers to the product, and again, 3 consumers purchase. Now watch what happens. One of these 3 consumers tells his friends on Facebook, Twitter, his blog, and perhaps he gets involved in the marketer's contest on the company's Facebook fan page. However the social media campaign is run, in the end, these 3 original sales lead to over 60 other sales because the people involved were not just customers. They became raving fans of the company and its products. You see, the message travels in all directions, especially bottom up, feedback to the marketer, and sideways, prospects and customers talk to each other. It's social media that's doing most of the work, not the marketer. Note the multicolored consumers. They are centers of influence, meaning that they have a lot of woofie, the new currency in the social media world. What is your woofie? Social media guru Tara Hunt, borrowing from Cory Doctorow, explains woofie in her book, The Woofie Factor. Your woofie is your social capital, the currency of your reputation. When people with lots of woofies speak or ask for favors in the social media world, people listen, they respond, and many times jump through hoops. Wouldn't you like to have these people blogging, Facebooking, and tweeting about you? In my next video, I'm going to give you 2 examples of companies successfully implementing social media into their marketing campaigns. One of these companies is one of the biggest in the world. Also, I'm going to answer this question. Is it really important to your success to learn how to use social media in your business? Stay tuned. Until then, I'm Dave Mack, the Internet Marketing Man with a Hat.